When the people move into this house, it's going to be their home for a long time, and they expect to live here comfortably. It's going to be your job to insulate this house, to help keep it cooler in summer and warmer in winter, to help prevent drafts, to help keep moisture out, to make it more soundproof, to do a good job, one that you can be proud of. This is the first segment of a series of training videos from CertainTeed on the right way to install insulation. This first part is an introduction. We'll give you some background on insulation and some of the basic facts you need to understand what you'll be doing when you get out on a job site. Your job's important. A properly insulated house saves energy and costs less to heat and cool. The work you do can add value to people's homes, and the use of insulation helps protect the environment. It'll be your responsibility to be sure that when you finish a job, you've left a well-insulated house, and that you've done a job that you and your employer can be proud of. We'll show you just what a good job is as you view this series of videos. Let's take a look at fiberglass insulation, the type of insulation you'll be installing. Fiberglass is the most widely used type of insulation. There are others, materials like rock wool, cellulose, foam, but fiberglass is by far the most widely used. That's because it does such a good job. Fiberglass is permanent. It won't settle or deteriorate with age. It's easy to install. It's non-combustible. It's relatively low cost. And when it comes to product quality, CertainTeed fiberglass insulation is one you can count on. It's regularly tested for product performance by the National Association of Home Builders Research Center, and most of our products carry this label of assurance. CertainTeed is one of the largest manufacturers of fiberglass insulation in the country, and we constantly strive to provide the best. How does insulation work? It's pretty simple, really. The strands of fiberglass form millions of tiny air pockets. These pockets trap air and resist the flow of heat. In winter, insulation retards the flow of heat from inside a home escaping to the colder outside, so the house stays warmer. In summer, just the opposite takes place, and with insulation, heat from the outside can't come through the walls and attic very easily, and the house stays cooler. This resistance to heat flow is called R value. The higher the R value, the more resistance to heat flow. For example, fiberglass insulation rated R19 provides more insulating power than insulation rated R13. When it comes to fiberglass batts, generally, the thicker the insulation, the higher the R value. For example, the insulation on the left is 6 1/4 inches thick and is R19. The bat next to it is 3 1/2 inches thick and is R13. Other insulation materials have different R values and thickness. However, there are times when fiberglass products with the same thickness can have different R values. For example, these three products are all 3 1/2 inches thick, but they vary in density, and so they vary in R value. This is R11, R13, and the one with the greatest density is R15. Okay, now, one more benefit of insulation is that it's excellent for controlling noise. What insulation does for heat and cold, it also does for noise. Helps block outside noise, keeping the house quieter. And at the same time, helps keep noise inside the house from traveling from room to room. CertainTeed fiberglass insulation comes in batts and rolls. Batts are pre-cut pieces of insulation, usually 48 inches long or 93 inches long. Rolls are longer pieces, say 39 feet, which have to be cut to size to use. Most of the time you'll work with batts. Because they're pre-cut to size, they're generally easier to handle and faster to install. There's one more type of fiberglass insulation. This is loose fill or blown-in insulation. We'll talk about InsulSafe blown-in insulation later in another tape. The most common widths of CertainTeed fiberglass insulation are 15 inches and 23 inches to fit standard spaces between wood joists and studs in most homes. Other widths are available for other applications. And finally, insulation comes unfaced, craft-faced, or foil-faced. You'll be told which type of insulation you'll be installing on each house that you insulate. Craft-faced and foil-faced insulation have a vapor retarder attached to one side. That's the craft or foil. Water vapor is produced in homes by everyday activities such as cooking, bathing, and washing. In time, this moisture can damage a home if it's allowed to penetrate into walls or ceilings, reaching colder surfaces. This moisture can condense and cause rot and mildew, so the vapor retarder holds moisture back. Incidentally, foil has a greater vapor retardance than craft. In most parts of the country, and this is important, in most parts of the country, the insulation is placed with the vapor retarder facing in, toward the inside of the house. But there are some places, especially in high humidity regions like the Gulf Coast, where the vapor retarder should be placed toward the outside. Check with your supervisor to be sure. There's another point you should remember about vapor retarders. Although fiberglass itself is non-combustible, most vapor retarders are flammable. That's why they should never be left exposed. In applications where the vapor retarder must be left exposed, CertainTeed provides a special flame-resistant foil facing called FSK 25 for these jobs. Now, let's look at unfaced insulation. This is used in one of two ways, either in places where no vapor retarder is needed, say interior walls, or it's used with a separate vapor retarder, usually this poly film, which is attached over the whole wall after the unfaced insulation has been installed. Packages of CertainTeed insulation give you a lot of information on both the front of the bag and on the end panel: width, length, type of facing, number of pieces, square footage, and R value. R values are color-coded so you can easily find the right insulation you need for a job. This bar is color-coded to indicate the facing in the bag. Yellow means unfaced, and brown means craft-faced. Every R value has its own distinctive color, so you can pick out what you need for a job quickly, and before you leave for the job, you can easily double-check that you have the right insulation. Some specialty products come in different-looking packages. This is noise reducer insulation. It's for sound control in residential and light commercial buildings. Non-standard products, for example, longer sidewall bats for homes with higher ceilings, can be ordered and are labeled made to order with the special size shown on the label. Sometimes a product will be packaged in a plain black and white bag. We call it a utility bag. All made to order and utility bags are labeled like this, with the same information as our standard product bags. Like everything we do, there's a right way and a wrong way. As we go on with this training, we'll be going by the book. We'll be watching experienced insulation installers doing things the right way. Part of insulating a house the right way is being sure every space is insulated with no gaps. That means insulating tiny spaces, behind pipes and ducts, around wiring and windows, everywhere. Every space you leave uninsulated is a place for heat to enter or escape. So remember to insulate the little spaces as well as the big ones. We'll be talking more about that later. Also, if you're installing a vapor retarder, it's very important to cover everything so moisture can't get through, and we'll be talking more about that later also. Now, about your tools. You want to make sure you have everything you need on your truck or in your toolkit before you leave for the job. You should carry these things: a staple hammer, plenty of staples, enough to last the day, waterproof tape, a screwdriver or putty knife for chinking, a utility knife and extra blades, some twine for bundling scraps. Be sure to dress properly to protect yourself. An OSHA-approved disposable dust respirator like this one is essential. Protect your eyes with safety glasses. Wear a cap, a long-sleeved shirt, gloves, long pants, and good sturdy shoes or boots. Hard-toe shoes are a good idea. There will be times you should wear a hard hat. For example, in an attic where roofing nails may be poking through near your head. Our bat packages come bundled in units of 4 or 5. We call them bat packs. The 4 straps can easily be opened with a utility knife, but you should cut sequentially, starting from either end like this. Be sure to cut away from yourself for safety. When you open packages, be sure to open them by cutting on a side panel like this. That way, you'll be less likely to cut the craft or foil facing. If the facing should be cut, or if it should tear during installation, be sure you tape over the cut with moisture-proof tape. Any holes in the facing, even small ones, will let moisture through. And here's another tip. Since CertainTeed insulation is compression packed, it will expand as soon as you open the bag. Be sure you open the bags where there's enough space, and to save time, open bags near where the insulation will be installed. And remember not to compress the insulation when you're working with it. This bat of insulation will be less effective if you compress it like this. Well, we've come to the end of this tape. Before you look at the next tape, it's a good idea to rewind this one and look at it again. You'll pick up some information you may have missed the first time around. And it's a good idea to know as much as you can as soon as you can. I'll see you next time.